teacher whispered, but her blind date was the millionaire CEO with. Grace Miller stood frozen on the marble steps outside the Grand Aveline Hotel, her fingers tightening around the strap of her thrifted handbag. The building loomed above her, glass and gold gleaming in the early evening light. Inside, chandeliers sparkled like constellations. Valets in black gloves opened doors for guests in suits that probably cost more than her rent. She stepped back, one foot on the sidewalk. This had to be a mistake. Why would anyone choose a hotel, a five-star one no less, for a blind date? Her mind raced. Maybe it was not a date at all. Maybe it was a setup, a prank, or worse. She whispered to herself, "This is stupid. I should just go home." But just as she turned to leave, a hotel concierge stepped outside, scanning a clipboard. "Miss Grace Miller?" She hesitated, wide-eyed. "Yes? Right this way, please. Your reservation is confirmed at the cafe." Grace blinked. "The cafe?" The man smiled, professional but warm. "Yes, ma'am. Inside, to your left. He is already waiting." Her heart stumbled. So it was real. Still, her legs moved hesitantly as she followed him inside. The air in the lobby smelled like roses and polished wood. Every surface gleamed. Women in evening gowns clinked glasses beside towering floral arrangements. A live pianist played something soft and elegant in the distance. Grace felt like an intruder in someone else's life. She clutched the strap of her bag tighter, keeping her head low as she walked past velvet chairs and murmured conversations. She caught sight of her reflection in a mirror and cringed. Her simple navy dress looked even plainer under the crystal lights, and her shoes were scuffed at the toes. At the entrance of the cafe, the hostess smiled and gestured her toward a table by the window. And there he was. Ethan. He rose slightly from his chair as she approached, tall and poised in a charcoal blazer, no tie. His presence was calm but undeniable. His eyes, deep and attentive, found hers instantly, and that made it worse. She felt her knees wobble. "Hi," she managed, barely above a whisper. Her voice cracked, like a kid's, on the first day of school. Ethan smiled gently. "Grace?" She nodded. He motioned toward the seat across from him. She sat down too quickly, bumping the edge of the table with her knee. A glass of water had already been poured for her. She reached for it with trembling fingers, hoping to anchor herself. But her hand slipped. The glass tilted, and a small stream of water spilled across the table, soaking the corner of the pristine white menu. Her breath caught. Her cheeks flushed crimson. I'm so sorry," she stammered, fumbling for a napkin that wasn't there. Then she whispered it, barely audible, almost to herself. I don't belong here." She dared not meet his eyes. There was a pause. Then, without a word, Ethan reached forward and slid a folded linen napkin from his side across the table toward her. He used another to gently blot the water around the menu, not in a rush, not with judgment. His movements were precise, calm, kind. Only then did he look at her, and his voice was low and sure. "Then, this place," he said, "is lucky to have you." Grace froze. No laughter, no awkward pity, just words that landed softly, like a blanket over her exposed nerves. For the first time since she stepped foot inside the hotel, she exhaled. Not all the way, but enough to feel like maybe, just maybe, she had not made a mistake coming here. Ethan leaned back, folding the damp napkin neatly, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. And across the table, Grace sat still, uncertain but no longer entirely afraid. Grace's fingers hesitated above the menu, her eyes scanning the elaborate names with growing dread. She had no idea what any of it meant. Chamomile infused with elderflower? Truffle poached quail egg salad? It all sounded like something out of a movie she did not belong in. "I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice fragile but honest. "I don't know how to order from this kind of menu." Ethan looked up from his own copy. "No need to be sorry," he said easily, then closed the menu altogether. He raised a hand, catching the attention of the waiter with a slight nod. "We'll have 2 peach teas and 2 warm muffins. Whatever's fresh." The waiter blinked, almost confused, but nodded and left. Grace blinked. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to," Ethan replied, leaning forward. "I've had enough foie gras in my life to know when someone just needs a good muffin." That made her smile. Just a little. Her shoulders loosened, and she set the menu down, grateful. "I teach 2nd grade," she said. "Public school in Eastfield. My rent takes most of my paycheck. The rest goes to food, art supplies for the kids, and secondhand books. Not exactly glamorous." He listened, elbows resting lightly on the table, not interrupting once. "I live in a studio apartment above a laundromat," she continued. "It smells like dryer sheets 24/7, but it's warm, and I like the noise." Ethan gave a soft chuckle. "Better than the silence of most hotel suites." Her brow rose slightly, but before she could ask, the soft chime of laughter from a nearby table cut through the moment. 2 women seated across the room were glancing in their direction. One of them, dressed in a tailored navy dress and pearls, leaned toward her friend, not bothering to lower her voice. "Well," she said with a sneer, "someone clearly didn't read the dress code." Grace froze. She instinctively reached for her lap, brushing her plain dress, as if trying to erase the judgment from it. Her posture tightened, eyes lowering to her tea, hands retreating. She wanted to disappear. Before she could even blink, Ethan stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a scene. He simply walked a few steps toward the 2 women, calm and composed. He looked at them, his expression unreadable but commanding. "This guest," he said, "is here because she was invited." His voice was low and firm. "She belongs here because I say so. Kindly show the respect she deserves." The women fell silent, their smugness evaporating. Before either could respond, the restaurant manager appeared, eyes wide as he spotted Ethan. "Mr. Remington," he said quickly, "I'm terribly sorry. We'll handle this immediately." Ethan gave him a single, curt nod. Then he turned back and returned to the table, sitting down like nothing had happened. He didn't mention it again. Grace stared at him. "You own this place?" she asked, stunned. He met her eyes, steady. "I do." She looked away, struggling to process the moment. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because it doesn't matter here. Not tonight." The waiter returned with warm muffins and steaming peach tea. Grace looked down at the plate, unsure whether to laugh or cry. She picked up a muffin, still hot from the oven. She broke off a piece, slowly brought it to her lips. It tasted like butter and cinnamon and kindness. When she finally looked up, Ethan was watching her, not with pity or amusement, but with a rare kind of softness. And for the first time, she didn't feel like she was falling apart. She felt like maybe someone had caught her. The sky was beginning to blush with the first hues of twilight when Ethan asked, gently, "Would you like to see the rooftop garden?" Grace blinked, a little surprised. "There's a garden?" He smiled. "Most people never find it. It's hidden, like all the good things in this place." Curious, she nodded, and he led her through a side corridor, up a private stairwell, and onto a quiet terrace several stories above the city. A breeze carried the scent of lavender and fresh soil. Stone paths wove between neatly trimmed hedges, fairy lights strung through flowering trees. It was quiet, removed, almost unreal. Grace stopped near a bench, her eyes wide. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "It doesn't feel like a hotel up here." Ethan didn't answer. He just watched her take it in. They walked slowly, side by side. She spoke more now, about her students, the way they colored outside the lines, how they shared single pencils like treasures, how some came to school without breakfast but still offered her half their granola bar. She told these stories not to complain, but with a strange, fierce kind of pride. Her voice trembled only once, when she mentioned a little girl who drew her a picture every Friday, even when she had no crayons. Ethan listened. Hands in his pockets, he matched her pace, occasionally glancing sideways, not at her clothes, not at her face, but at the way her hand moved when she spoke, the way her eyes softened at every child's name. They came to a narrow corner where the path dipped slightly. A hotel staffer in uniform rushed past, clearly late for something, and accidentally brushed too close. Grace staggered back. In an instant, Ethan reached out, catching her, just before she lost her balance. His hand wrapped gently around her arm, steadying her. She froze. So did he. His touch was warm, careful, protective, but not possessive. For a second, they simply stood like that, close, breathing the same air, the scent of rosemary and roses, all